Can you just give me a thumbs up, Josh, if you can see that? Yeah, brilliant. Okay, guys. So I want to talk a little bit about some expectations because the reason this is so important to talk about is one of the biggest challenges any of us will have, whether it's like training related, but also even just in life and work and everything like that, is when our expectations are misaligned with our reality. And you've got to remember the only time you're ever really going to be frustrated is if your reality doesn't meet your expectations. Okay, so that's so important to actually align your expectations. Do your expectations need to change? Does your reality, i.e., what action you are taking, does that need to change? Or does both need to change? And that's just something you need to have both of them. Your actions and your expectations need to be aligned, which is why I want to cover it here. So here we've got results. Okay, so the black line is results. And I want to just explain a little bit around the different stages you're going to go through on your kind of health and fitness journey. So stage one, we have this one here, momentum and routine. Okay. The reason it's in red, not because it's bad, but just because it's early on, it's not stable yet. When you first start something, it's not ingrained, it's new, and it takes time to build like the stability with it. Now, as you first start, the main focus within this first phase, and for a lot of people, this is going to be between their first, it might be the first 6 weeks, it might be 3 months to 6 months. It does vary as an individual, but what we need to focus on here is, first of all, just mastering the art of actually showing up. Okay, that is the first thing. So for a lot of people, it's actually just having like a simple, clear routine. Okay, that's going to be one of the most important things. You don't need to get fancy with it. You don't need to focus on massive goals, massive outcomes, what weights you're lifting. You need a simple, clear routine and actually quite a lot of structure. You're not quite in a position yet to be super flexible with your approach because you just need to build momentum. Okay, so master showing up, need a simple, clear routine. Regards to your training, oops, I actually rubbed it out instead. We need to have a real big technique focus. And that's going to come through like a lower weight, higher reps, so you get more practice with the skill, with what you're doing in session. And it's very much process focused. Okay. That is going to be the main focus if you are newer. Okay. You know, like I said, up to 6 weeks, up to 6 months. It does vary as an individual of being consistent. But the thing is, when you have been doing that for a while, you then have a new challenge. Okay, so we're actually going to reach here. And if you don't actually conquer this new challenge in this new phase, which I mentioned, you can potentially just drop off. You could stop doing everything that you're doing. Your progress will stop unless you start to tackle this next thing. And Anghara, this is what relates massively, I feel, to what you mentioned there, is that when you have kind of you're in a good flow and everything like that, you will get to a point where maybe you've achieved your initial goals and that initial excitement drops. Okay, you're like, anytime you start something new, like a new program, it's exciting. It's like, oh, great, this is really fun. But that initial excitement will drop at some point, and maybe you've achieved goals or you haven't achieved them yet, but just that excitement and initial motivation and novelty has dropped. At this point, it is so important that you reset your vision. Okay. And that means taking time to do what we're doing today, which is why it's so good to have you guys on here, and reset your targets. Think about, where am I going next? What do I want to achieve now? Now I've conquered, kind of, not conquered, like it's always going to be a bit of a battle, but now that I've shown up consistently, what next? Okay. And at this point, this is where it starts to become more important to add intensity. Okay. To start to add some intensity to what you're doing, whether that's starting to creep up and really like add a little bit of load, starting to push yourself with your strength training, starting to push yourself with your cardio and going that bit more intense. That's where you can really start to push on. But also another one is actually learning to adapt your routine, because when you first start something and it's the motivation's there and the novelty's there, you will kind of do it regardless of if it fits into your routine of life or not. But after that initial excitement drops, if you don't actually learn how to adapt your schedule, say if you end up working away or you're ill or you can't make it in on your set day, it's very easy to catastrophize at that point and think, oh God, I've ruined my streak. Okay. And think, oh, I suck. I've ruined all my progress. Actually, no, this is just a new challenge that you need to go through, because you need to learn how to, okay, if my life schedule is looking like that, how can I adapt that so that I keep making progress regardless of what is going on with my work? And this does require a change in mindset, because this is not about having an unbroken perfect streak. This is about you being able to recognize, okay, when is it a good time to actually go in and train, for example? When should I train whilst away? When should I actually take a rest day? And having that self-awareness is really important. And if you can start to master that, and you do reset your vision and add meaningful goals now, other than just showing up, because that will get a bit boring once you're just doing that and you are showing up. You do need to have some sort of target. You're adding intensity and you're learning to adapt your routine. We then can progress it further. Okay. So you've now had structure to get yourself going. You now have reset your vision with your initial goals, and you're starting to add some intensity to what you're doing with your training. That might even be intensity with your nutrition. You might actually be trying something a little bit more specific, other than like eat a few more vegetables, for example. We then reach another point. And if you don't master this next bit, you aren't going to continue making progress. And as you become more advanced, you've done the first few phases, we then want to be looking at how can we maximize and accelerate our results. Okay. And at this point, this is when you've been training for quite a bit longer. And again, these are rough figures, but it might be you've been training consistently for, I don't know, 18 months plus, 2 years plus, and actually been showing up consistently. We need to focus on actually start looking at potentially periodizing your training a little bit more. And what that means, if you aren't sure, is basically having a focused block of work, maybe 6, 8, 12 weeks. This is actually why we run our projects, because they give you periodized training without you kind of even being aware you're doing it. But a block focus where you focus on one thing specifically, because the more advanced you get, the stronger you get, the fitter you get. You can't always, tackle everything at once. You can't just look at a set of weights and get stronger like you could when you first started. Progress does slow down a bit. And at this point, finer details and specifics matter. They matter a lot more. So an example, like if you've only just started and you're thinking, how many grams of carbohydrates should I be having pre-workout? Kind of irrelevant if you're in that first point and you're not showing up consistently yet. But as soon as you reach this phase, that sort of question and that sort of specificity matters a lot more. And it's those specifics that are going to, whether it's looking at specific nutrition stuff, specific lifestyle factors and lifestyle management, and also like specific training protocols where you can actually tweak things and make them a little bit more like specific. Progress does slow down. Okay, you actually have to put in, and it's kind of frustrating, but it's just a different part of the journey. You will put in more effort than you did at the start of your journey, and you will get less objective progress. That's just how it goes, unfortunately. But it presents new challenges and new opportunities for you to focus on. And we're ultimately trying to maximize our efforts. And if we can start doing that, then we can carry on going. And that's when things are really solidified. Now, this journey isn't like you only go through it once. Every time you start something new, whether it's a new training program or a new, say, if you suddenly went from doing gym training, focusing on running, you kind of will start every time you start something new back at the beginning. You need to build structure first. Then when you achieve you're showing up consistently, you need to reset your vision, add some intensity to really start to push on. And then afterwards, you really want to then be looking at like some specifics, whether it's training, nutrition, lifestyle management, and those sorts of things. So hopefully that's useful, guys, to see and just like what I want you taking from that is to have a little think around what stage of your journey with regards to your training with us here do you feel you're at? Do you feel you're actually at the start, in the middle, on at the end? Because that's going to dictate and hopefully add some clarity for you, Angharad, around what sort of stuff you need to be looking at next in order to carry on progressing. All right.